Run away from love. Don't run away from us. In love we trust.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I will be discussing scarring alopecia with my client who is in this video. She has scarring alopecia, also known as CCCA. If you're not familiar with that, I recommend you Google it, especially if you're African American female, because this is a hair loss condition that's known to be prone in African American women. In the video, I used a cell phone and my microscope to be able to show her scalp, because when a client can see their scalp themselves, even if they're not dealing with any hair loss conditions or any scalp conditions, just them having the experience of seeing what their scalp condition looks like is a is a good experience for the client, because it's important for them to see what their scalp looks like. So since she suffers with scarring alopecia, I thought it was a good idea for me to show her what her scalp looks like, because I can see it, but of course she can't. And with me using this microscope, we get to really dive deep and see what's going on in her scalp and on her scalp. And what I'm doing is just having a conversation with her, talking to her, telling her what's going on with her scalp, and just letting her know the pros and the cons when you're dealing with scarring alopecia. And she started having this condition after she gave birth to her son, who was 2 years old. Prior to her having this condition, her scalp was okay. She wasn't having these issues. So if you are dealing with scalp conditions and you are pregnant, this is something that a lot of women go through when they become with child. Our hormones change on us. Our baby that's inside of us causes our hormones to change, and we can, have some type of medical condition that we have not had before our pregnancy. Like for me, I didn't have preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure, but when I was pregnant with both of my kids, I had preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure. But the good thing about me was once I had them, it went away. In some cases, when women are pregnant with their child and they, end up having some sort of medical condition, whether it's something going on with your scalp or within the body, which is still a part of the body, which is, I'm talking about the scalp, is that sometimes it don't go away after you have your child. And in her case, and another client that I had as well, which is I'm going to do a video about her as well, who suffers from seborrheic dermatitis. She didn't actually have that condition with her scalp until she had her daughter, who is now 20, and she's still suffering with seborrheic dermatitis. So, as I was stating before, with this specific client, she had scarring alopecia. And, scarring alopecia, the symptoms of this hair and scalp condition, the scalp is very red. It can itch and burn without you even, doing anything to it. Your scalp will become very inflamed. Like in her, in this video, looking at her scalp, you could tell if you was to like zoom in on her phone, you'll be able to see that her scalp is inflamed. It's very red. Some parts is red, some parts isn't. It's even like some pus on her scalp as well. This is something that a lot of African American women is dealing with today, and that's why I wanted to do this video, so that I can share some knowledge and enlighten you all on scarring alopecia, because a lot of women deals with this in secrecy as well, because it's a very sensitive thing. And scarring alopecia is also known as, I can't never pronounce this word. For me to be a licensed cosmetologist and a hair loss practitioner, I can't never pronounce it, but cicatricial scarring alopecia, which is also known as cicatricial alopecia, and also known as CCCA, is like it's like inflammatory hair loss, and the results of it is like bald patches on the scalp due to permanent destruction on the hair follicles too. The underlying tissues in and around the hair gets destroyed or scarred, and with that it gets replaced with fibrous tissues. So it's just something important to know about, especially if you are dealing with any of these symptoms in the center of your head. Where I'm holding the microscope, which is the center of her scalp, a lot of times that's where CCCA normally begins. It can spread, but for the most part, it's always, you're going to find it only in the top crown area of the head. For some women, they experience different I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to get my words together. But everybody body is different. So some women what is the word that I'm trying to say? Symptoms. That's the word I'm looking for. Some women's symptoms are different than others. There are some treatments for it, and I'm going to give you some of that right now as far as the treatments for scarring alopecia. So I'm gonna say about for scarring alopecia is about 3% to 7% in men and women. Most of the time is women. And people who, get bald due to scarring alopecia suffer from a lot of distress because there's no way to rejuvenate or regrow the hair. And with that being said, that kind of can make it worse. So if you don't know, stress is one of the number one causes of hair loss. So if you're dealing with cicatricial alopecia alone, that's stressful, It's not contagious and it can't affect anyone. So, I don't want people to think that, it is contagious or anything like that, because it's not. I'm going to give you a little background about scarring alopecia. It's relatively rare, a rare hair disorder. And the results in permanent hair loss is leading to baldness with this. That's why it's good to, try to get to a dermatologist or get to your stylist so that she can be able to identify it. If she can't, then you need to go straight to a dermatologist so that they can automatically reverse, reverse this to reaching hair loss, because that's the part you don't want. And you can definitely avoid that if you deal with this early on. Cicatricial, the word cicatricial alopecia, the word cicatricial means the scar. So cicatricial is the actual scar. Alopecia is the hair loss. And we also call it, of course, scarring alopecia. And the hair loss with the scarring alopecia can occur so slowly over a period of time and over a few years. So it's important that if you feel any tingling sensations, burning and itching sensations in your crown area, to mention that to your stylist or your dermatologist, right? And after a few years, it can happen rapidly within a few months. And in some cases, the hair loss and scarring alopecia, it may not show typically symptoms, and it can go unnoticed too. So that's another thing. Another con with this is that it can go unnoticed because sometimes you won't have any symptoms. The rapid hair loss is usually accompanied by symptoms such as severe itching, pain, burning, and shedding of hair in bunches. So if you're experiencing this, again, get to your dermatologist at this point, because your stylist won't be able to do anything about that when it gets to that part. The inflammation that causes the destruction of the follicles happens below the skin surface and does not show the scar on the scalp. However, once the follicle gets, scarred, the scalp may start to show signs of inflammation, such as redness, scaling, pigmentation, pustules, or hard plyboard-like appearance. So it's important for your stylist to be educated on this so that they know what to look for. This is what inspired me to go back to school, which was United States Trichology Institute, so I can be more knowledgeable of these hair and scalp conditions, because hair school teaches these things, but a lot of this stuff they don't. And so when I have clients come into my salon and I'm looking at their scalp, I instantly notice these scalp issues and conditions, and I do a hair and scalp analysis, and then I send them straight to the dermatologist so that they can, now that's a healthy scalp. So guys, I'm sorry I cut the other video off so soon, but I will be uploading another video discussing more about cicatricial alopecia, also known as CCCA. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and make sure you hit the bell button as well, so that you be able to get notifications about upcoming videos that I'm going to be talking about, things that you really don't want to miss out on. So be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button, guys. Here my client, she's dealing with a bad case of seborrheic dermatitis. And seborrheic dermatitis is a common skin disease, and it causes an itchy rash, which causes flaky scales on the scalp and on the skin, and it causes redness on light skin and light patches on dark skin, and it's also called dandruff, cradle cap, seborrheic eczema, and seborrheic psoriasis. In her case, I believe, I'm not a dermatologist or anything like that, but because she has it on her whole body, I believe it's like seborrheic eczema for her case. But she will be going to see a dermatologist to get a diagnosis or whatever. In the meantime, I'm just treating her scalp and removing all of those scales and patches off the skin. It's not contagious or anything like that. It usually happens on the scalp, of course, but you can get it anywhere on your body. A lot of times we don't know what exactly causes seborrheic dermatitis. It seems to be like a mixture of things. And the first thing on the list is stress, of course. Your genes, so it could be genetic, and a yeast that usually lives on the skin without causing any problems. Certain medical condition, and even some medicines. Cold or dry weather, and an immune system response, of course. So, it doesn't come from an allergy or from like an unclean, or from being unclean or anything like that. But a lot of times, there can be some risk factors due to this. Like, for instance, newborns and adults between the ages of 30 to 60 are most likely, to get seborrheic dermatitis. And it's more common in men than women, and in people with oily skin. These conditions, can also raise adults' risk to different things like acne, alcoholism, depression, eating disorders, epilepsy, stroke, heart attack, Parkinson's disease, psoriasis, just a list of things. And so, yeah. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.